Hi, my name is Nikki, and this is The Interventionalist. Okay, so today I want to talk about art. I restarted this like 5 times because I don't exactly know how to word it, but I started because I wanted to learn more about AI art and the ethics of AI art because I had watched a video of someone talking about how it's essentially destroying or can destroy the art industry, and it takes jobs from people, and it just sort of diminishes what it means to create art and to be an artist, and the value of art in total. But when you think about this kind of stuff, it's easy to sort of talk about the economics of it, right? Like, you can talk about how it's economically going to ruin lives. It's going to ruin an entire industry. It's going to take away jobs. It's going to make what people create be less valuable. There's not going to be a demand for it anymore if it's just can be massively consumed, because you can generate millions of pieces of art a day, and through AI, it's just devalues everything about art and its need for it in society, I guess you would say, or its need from artists themselves, and it's ruining that community, and the reason it's so bad, I guess I'll just talk about quickly, because it's not exactly what I want to talk about, but I feel like I have to cover it. But the reason that it's so harmful and so bad is, there's so many reasons, but it not only is ruining careers economically, like it takes away jobs and it's devaluing art, but it's stealing intellectual property from people, and it's stealing their work and all of what they've put into it, and they're taking such an individual thing that has such individual meaning and just repurposing it into this like massively consumed version of it without even giving credit to the original creator. As in, AI art systems essentially study databases on the internet. So anything that they can poach art from, they study it, and then they collect data about how certain kinds of art are made, and then from there it can create art. But it has to study it, right? It has to study the artists that it can find, and it does not discriminate. It's like if your art is on the internet or somewhere it can find, like, there's a good chance that it's been used by one of these systems and has now been probably replicated somewhere else in some way or another, but it has been stolen. And who then gets to take credit for that work? Like, it's the copyright. The copyright isn't, it's not copyrighted anymore for the people who actually created it, and then who has the copyright after that? Like, I was reading about how, obviously there's so many issues with copyright, but after it's already been taken from somebody else and like rewired and restructured to create more art, and then it's produced through AI systems, where does the copyright go after that? Does it come from the people who created the software for the AI art in general, because they were technically what is now generated this new art, or does it go back to all of the artists that it studied to get that piece of art? Does it go to the person? Oh my god, my cat, my kitten is freaking out. Does it go to the person who bought it, or like, I don't know, bought it? I don't really know how AI art works. I don't use it. But who bought it? Who gets the copyright for it? But at the end of the day, like, it should go back to the people who created the art in general. But it's not. It's stolen, and you can't even backtrack and trace where it's been stolen from, or all the people it's been stolen from. That seems blindly optimistic. Like, it's not possible. So it just is taking people's work and turning it into whatever it wants, and putting a bunch of stolen artwork together to conglomerate in itself, and then create a million other pieces of it, and it just takes away from all of the value, because each piece of art that is created means something. It is a piece of a person. Everything a person creates artistically is a piece of them, and it cannot be recreated by somebody else, especially not a system that is non-human, that does not speak the language that we speak internally. I mean, no matter what, at the end of the day, the only living thing that can understand humanity is humanity itself. Like, we have such a specific way of experiencing the world that we all share, that nothing else can understand. Like, we will always speak that same language inside of us that we can recognize. That's why art is so important, that we can see ourselves in someone else's work. Like, it is, humanity can recognize humanity, but I don't think that some non-human system that has no humanity, that just studies humanity, can even recognize it, let alone replicate it. And it just becomes meaningless. And while there's some people who argue that it can be helpful, that it's not destructive, or like, for example, people say that it can give an artist the opportunity quickly to give someone like a rough, like a sketch, I guess, of what something they're going to create could look like, or inspire the artist, like an idea of what they're trying to create. I kind of think that's bullshit. I mean, obviously I don't need it. I don't do that, so I can't really speak on it. I don't create art that way, but it just seems kind of like bullshit. Like, that might even in itself take away from the authenticity of art if it comes back down to like replicating this art that has already been stolen. If that's being created from AI, you're already stealing art from somebody else. And it's one thing to take inspiration from art that you see, but it's another thing to steal it. I think when you're stealing it, and you're stealing it from so many people that you can't even credit, you can't even see the name of, really. And I'm not saying that you can't be inspired by so many things in the world, but it's just different. I would say it's just different. And maybe I'm not getting it across well, but it's just different to take somebody's work that way, and millions of people's work that way. Even if it's just to quickly give somebody a sketch of what you could create later. Like, it just takes away from your own work. It's no longer just yours. This is my kitten. Sorry, he's being a nut right now, so I'm going to have him sit with me. But, so I've just been thinking about, you know, the ethics of that in general, and how kind of scary but depressing it is to see our world devolving into or devolving into something that is, I don't know, that's trying to take away the one thing that makes us what we are, and that separates us from, you know, animals, I guess, which is our humanity, but our humanity beyond just animalistic drives, or the fact that we exist and we are humans. It's what we feel. It's the way that we can perceive the world and feel something. And the fact that we can take that, and we have the ability from there to personify, to make it something in the world that you can then look at in a different way, and like see somebody else's experience of the world. Like, we all see the world, right? And like, we all have this shared innate sense of this humanity to perceive it, and we experience similar emotions about it. And so all of us internally process it, what we're seeing, and the ability to create art and to share it with others is the way we can share our personal experience of it. But we can understand it from other people and relate to it and empathize, because we all share that little thing inside of us, that humanity. And animals I don't think, can share it the same way, even if they can, in some capacity, like, you know, obviously they're sentient, but have similar feelings and emotions. It'll never just be the same. I don't know why I'm comparing it to animals right now, but I just want to highlight that it's such a unique, the human experience is so incredibly unique, and lucky that we're able to take what we feel and what we see, and have like the intellect and the ability and like the involvement to make it something in the world beyond just, I don't know, we can perceive and we can create. And that's a pretty amazing thing to be able to do. And that is what art is. Art is a personification of humanity, and taking away the humanity of art, I think, in my opinion, makes it not art at all. It just makes it a picture. But I think what art is and what makes it art is the person inside of it. And not the thing that can steal a million images of people and try and study what that person might have been trying to get across. It can't understand the feeling of it. You know, it's not going to look at it and like have its heart isn't going to stop beating for a second, and it's not going to make its breath isn't going to catch when it looks at this picture, or it's not going to get the chills when it reads something that is incredibly moving. It's not going to get nervous or a little scared when it looks at a painting that is scary. It doesn't experience that. And if it can't experience that, it can't understand art, and it can't replicate it. And already, I really believe that no person and no experience in the world and no, I don't know what the word is. Already in itself, like, a person and their experience cannot be replicated, so it doesn't matter how hard you try. You cannot have two of the same thing. So if an artist does get inspiration from something, they can't recreate it the exact same way, because they won't have the exact same experience that it was born from, and it'll always feel a little bit different. And to have that heartbeat stolen, and to just make it something that's all about mass consumption and consuming something as fast as you can, and making it, you know, it's hard because things like mass consumption are interesting to me when you think about them ethically, only because in some capacities I can see where it's helpful because it can cheapen things monetarily, and the world is a world that impoverishes people and makes life really fucking hard, and art should never become something that's elitist, right? You want to be able to purchase or see really amazing art, and that isn't always possible if something is, when something's considered really high value and there's a really high demand for it, because there's a scarcity of some stuff, then the price is higher. So if that happens with art in general, and there's less places you can purchase it, and there's less copies of something, or even like replicas of something, it's going to be really expensive unless people are going to have access to it. So mass consumption of art in some capacity, like AI, I can understand is beneficial that way economically, but at the same time, it's destroying an entire industry, which is going to also have a major economic, or have a major negative economic impact. So I understand it from a lot of angles, and it's hard to always pick a side on something. There's never picking a side, but when it comes to art and recognizing and protecting a human creation, something that has let somebody feel something and express it, I will pick a side, and it's that it should never be devalued. Because if you turn it into something that can be massively consumed and stolen and recreated and mutilated in whatever way will fit somebody else's narrative or make it easier for them to consume or what they want it to be and steal it, I'll pick a side and say that's wrong. It's just wrong. You can't devalue. I just hate that idea of devaluing art. Like, I just remember my own experiences, like the first time, oh my god, my cat is being a freak. Come here. His name's Oliver. But just to take away, to make it something that'll become so much harder to find if you destroy the art industry, and people's access to it as well, are like just inflate the art industry with a bunch of meaningless AI art. It's going to make it so much harder for the meaningful, real, human-created art to be even seen. But I can't imagine a world where we take that away, where we can retrace our history, human history. I mean, that's how we can understand history beyond just reading words. I mean, considering literacy, there's people in the world that like, or there's I think that there's across the world. I'm not wording this well, but if someone is, I feel like illiterate is not the right word to use, because right now when I'm saying it doesn't feel good to say. I guess maybe people who don't speak the same language, whether it's a language barrier or somebody can't read or something like that, or they can't, I don't know, something like that. There's a barrier between the way which we can communicate verbally. To be able to see somebody's experience and to feel that way, that lets us connect on an entirely new level. It adds to the way that we can understand each other and see each other for who we are. And there is nothing in the world more valuable than understanding each other and recognizing our humanity and what somebody feels and what they don't feel, or their beliefs, and even things like that, beliefs, values, whether it's political or social, that can come through in art. I mean, there's so much art throughout history that's making political statements. There's art now, right? Like, it goes beyond just heartbreak or happiness or joy. Like, it lets us understand each other in a visual way, which is an incredible experience. But that understanding in a visual way, that depth of understanding, is only ever going to be capable if we're looking at something that shares the thing that one thing that, if we're looking at something that actually shares the language that we speak, which is a sense of humanity. It's that feeling, it's that specific kind of intellect, and it's the emotions that we are able to feel as a species in itself, our particular range of emotions. And I guess back to the idea that we can retrace what it has meant to be human, and what the world has gone through and people have gone through art. I was watching a Brittany Broski video. I love her. I admire her. She just seems like this incredible woman, so intelligent, and just, it was a video of hers, and I think she said, like, art is history with a pulse. I don't remember if that was exactly what she said, but I remember it just stuck with me because it is. That is such a perfect way to encapsulate what art contributes to our history and the way that we understand history, and adds to our understanding of history beyond just writing. I think especially emotionally, because I think a lot of the time I feel this. I can't create. I cannot draw. I can't paint. Whatever. But we can't always find the right words. And to be able to create something visually, to try and convey something, is a beautiful other medium that so many people are blessed to be skilled at. I'm not, but I love looking at other people's art and getting the chance to feel what they feel, and, you know, to get the chance to feel what someone felt 1,000 years ago is insane. And beyond just writing, right? Like, in language barriers, right? Like, you'll always be able to see art, and there's not going to be a language that's really going to make it impossible to understand. It's not going to be written in words that you cannot read. Because even if you're reading someone's writing that's conveying a feeling, if it was translated from another language, you'll never quite understand it the same way. And like I said, people struggle to find the right words. I always struggle to find the right words. And so to be able to see history through the lens of something that will never have that kind of barrier is an incredible thing. But it only has that value and that meaning because it was created by those people. It wasn't created by something that studied those people. It's just a pretty amazing thing that art can let you feel what somebody felt so many years ago, or to give someone the opportunity to make you feel something that you never knew you could feel, or understand something that you didn't even know you had the ability to understand, with never even really being able to place it. I think when I look at art, a lot of the times, even if it makes me feel something, I don't even know what it is. But I think that's okay. I don't think you always have to understand, but the fact that it can make you feel something alone is a really incredible experience. And I remember the first time that ever happened that I felt something, like when I saw a piece of art, and I just hate to think that the world will become something where that experience will be really hard to come by, because the art will be hard to find, that kind of art. But the paintings were, I always get kind of embarrassed to say there's two different paintings that were like the first times I ever really felt something when I saw a piece of art that made my breath catch, or like that for weeks after there was like a tiny bit of me, this like tiny sensation in my chest, on my necklaces. There was a tiny bit of me that felt like things had shifted, or had shifted left or right, I don't know, but something in me had shifted. And the first one was A Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh, and the second one was The Creation of Adam by Michelangelo. And I don't really tell people, whenever I talk about art with people, which I guess isn't that often, I don't really like saying what my favorite pieces are, because I know that those are so stereotypical, and I think it's stupid to feel like you can't love something or been really moved by something because it's like a sort of stereotypical, or the most like, I don't know, like well known of someone's stuff. I feel like that, you know what I mean. But I can't lie, like those are the pieces that always made me feel something. I remember I saw the Starry Night painting, I think when I was like 14, and I got like a poster of it in my room. I got a cover for my laptop because I just wanted to look at it all the time. I just remember feeling this, I don't know, it's weird because I feel like this isn't what it was meant to really make you feel, but I remember feeling calm when I saw it, and I think it was because there was something about the way that the painting is sort of disorienting, like it's not calm. The way that the brushstrokes are, like it's not a calm painting, it's not smooth. It doesn't look smooth. And I think the way that's almost a little bit turbulent and like emotionally disorienting, I could relate to, and it, like looking at it almost calmed me down. The way that I think there's a lot going on inside of you. I know when people have ADHD, which I technically have ADHD, I just am not medicated for it. You can hear certain audios, I can't remember the name, but other kind of audios, but things that make a sound go from left to right, and it can sort of quiet your brain. It felt like that. I think there's a lot going on in my brain, and to see something that sort of mimicked that sense of disorientation calmed it down. And even when I think about it now, it's just one of my favorite paintings. And the second one was The Creation of Adam by Michelangelo. My camera's gonna restart. Hold on, I'm gonna restart it. It turns off. Okay, I restarted it. But like I said, the second one was The Creation of Adam by Michelangelo, and I was in college. I think I was about 18, because I remember I made it the background on my computer afterwards. And I'm not religious at all. I still don't really know why that one has stuck with me so much, and why it made me feel something, but I remember the feeling was, even when I think about it now, I cannot explain why I feel this. I don't even think I could philosophize it or decipher it at all, but I think it makes me feel nostalgic, and I don't know why. I think that it represents this, I don't know, this sense of human connection, even though it's not probably meant to really be understood that way, because it's the creation of Adam, the piece in itself, if I didn't know a backstory at all, and I didn't when I first saw it, I didn't know anything, that's what it made me feel. It was like this sense of human connection, we're so close yet so far all the time. I don't know, that it can feel so hard to get to that point where you just feel like you really can feel another person. And I've never really thought that much into why I loved either of those paintings, and since that time has passed, I guess when I think about them not as much, I don't think about why they meant so much to me, but all I know is that even when I remember them, they always make me feel something. And to know that I'm being able to even get like a glimpse of somebody's experience that existed centuries before my own, that's a pretty incredible thing to experience. And it makes me upset, it makes me angry to think that people will have their work and that piece of themselves stolen and just mutilated and replicated and conglomerated with a bunch of other work that's also been stolen, and to take away their heartbeat and their contribution to history, and to just water down our ability to recall history through art. It just waters that down and makes it essentially like a moot point. Like, doesn't mean anything at all anymore. Does art mean anything if not created by a person? I mean, it probably has some meaning, but I guess it just comes down. I think I just heard a noise outside, but I don't know. I have headphones in. I think it comes down to what you define art as, and I think I define it as a representation of what it means to be human, and I think only people who have experienced the human experience and who have a sense of humanity can do that. I think it's only humanity itself that can personify it, and an online software system can't do that. It can't feel the same way. No matter how much you try and program it to do that, it will never be that. And just, it makes me mad. I've just been thinking about it, and I just hate to think that that's going to be something that is just going to be another thing that, like, we start to lose as we evolve into a more tech-based world. And there's so many benefits to the internet and to technology, but this is not one of them. It's not one of them. And I think something that's so special about art, that even if it doesn't get seen by a lot of people, that makes it so special. I know the start about AI art, and this kind of moving away from it though, is the ability for, I always think about this, that I think it's so important that we ask ourselves the questions that we wish other people would ask us. Even if you're alone in your room, talk to yourself, like ask yourself the question that you want someone so badly to ask you. Give yourself a reason to talk about it or to express it and to learn. Because even if there's not someone in front of you that's being taught what you have learned, or listening, you can learn from yourself. I think sometimes when you're talking to yourself, you can surprise yourself with the things you say and learn about yourself. And that's why it's so important to just indulge in all of your thoughts and all of the things you wish somebody would talk to you about, right? Or give you a reason to talk about. But art is just another medium of that. It's another way to answer questions. It's another way to answer questions that are inside of you, or ones you don't even realize you have. Maybe they're just a feeling and they'll come out as something else. But it gives you an ability to learn about yourself. It's another way to communicate, right? Art is another form of communication. So it gives you the ability to talk about these things you wish you could talk about, and there's no one to talk about them to, or no one's asking you that question. It gives you the ability to do that and to teach someone, or it gives you the ability to share what you have learned and your experience, and to let it exist outside of you and not feel like it's, I don't know, exploding inside of you or weighing you down. It can live somewhere else, and help you feel more sane by seeing it outside of you and beyond just like beyond this like swirling thought inside of you that you can't really comprehend, and it's just floating around. It's not something yet. Art gives you the ability to make it something, and to make it a concrete thing that you can look at and study, and it doesn't have to feel like this fuzzy idea in your head. And I know that people could sometimes say art is meaningless, like it's so silly, or I don't know, vulgar, or just it's not in like a great way, that it lacks meaning, and it doesn't actually represent anything that makes art objectively good. Like in philosophy, there's a lot of questions about whether there's an objective way to measure art, about whether or not it's good. I remember in a philosophy club when I was in college, this was such a big debate in a class, and this one guy saying that he was talking about rap music and how most of the time, not always, he wouldn't define it as meeting the objective standards of making good art because of the way that it is sort of just objectifying women and stuff like that. And he was talking about aestheticism, which in philosophy it's philosophy of art and stuff like that, but the sort of mantra of it, like the sentence that can sort of represent it as a whole, is that art can exist for the sake of being art, for the sake of being beautiful. And so I feel like even though he was talking about it and using aestheticism as a way to defend it, he's taking away the value about what makes art good, which is just the fact that we can learn something from it because it's another human sharing a piece of themselves, and as a collective we can understand it. We can dissect it, and we know that it's coming from somebody else's humanity, and so it matters, and it's something that we can dissect because we understand it a bit. We can understand other people through it. So even if it's like, I don't know, rap music or silly pieces of art, there's something to be said about it because it's someone else like us that created it. And even if you think it's not super meaningful or super, or really good, or contributes something really meaningful to society, as if art has to do that, even though a lot of art does, it doesn't take away the fact that anything that can help us understand the world better, I don't think can be necessarily bad. Obviously, can really, really be harmful. Some things can be really harmful. Like if someone's creating art that is just harmful and negative, and I don't know, like propaganda that's trying to destroy the world and hurt people, I'm not including this. I feel like I have to say that there's some art that's really negative, but I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about art that is human expression in its purest form, and that isn't completely based in like really harmful hatred. Maybe it's based in hatred, it's sharing some hatred that you feel, but it's not like it's not the kind of hatred that is gonna, that's not like promoting, I don't know, something like genocide, like not that kind of hatred. Even if a piece of art seems vulgar and, negative, I guess, that way, or not super meaningful to you, that doesn't mean it doesn't have meaning. And so even if someone's watching this and they don't feel like they understand art that way, so it doesn't matter to them if it's becoming something created for mass consumption or being stolen from other people because you don't feel anything about it anyways, I would just say, like, I implore you to think about the things that do make you feel something, whatever it is. Maybe it's music, maybe it's I don't know, whatever makes you feel something. Like, I'm trying to think of things. I'm thinking of music, even if it's like playing video games. I don't know, that's a form of art. Exercising, running, like it gives you a feeling, like, I don't know, it's probably not the same as art, but whatever makes you feel something, imagine it being destroyed and taken from you. And what made you feel something before has been sort of altered and changed in a way that no longer feels human. Kind of like Uncanny Valley. I feel like maybe all art becomes this like Uncanny Valley, like it's supposed to be human, but it's not. Everything that makes you feel something and that speaks to you as a person beyond just the basics of human existence, like really speaks to your internal world, that being taken from you and ruined. And then think about the people who feel that way about art and the people who create it. And there's only so many things in this world that can give us that, and to have it taken away in something so big and meaningful like art is shitty. I don't know, I guess that's all I really have to say. At the end of the day, I don't know. I'm limited on my ability to speak on this because I only can talk about somebody who looks at art and feels things about art, but I don't really create the kind of art that's being stolen, which is like a visual art, and I can only imagine how that would feel. And there's economics to this that I won't always understand, and politics to this, and such, but at the end of the day, I think that this is a discussion that goes beyond politics and economics, and goes and speaks to what it means to be human, and what it means to respect the human experience, and the creation and personification of the unique human experience. So, I guess I'll stop talking now because I've already talked too much, but I'll just end it by saying, if you're someone who creates art in any form, in any capacity, whether or not you think you're good at it or not good at it, I just hope that you remember it always is going to mean something, and it always matters. It's always going to matter, even if nobody's going to see it that can tell you that to your face. I'll tell you right now, it matters, and it's you, and it shouldn't be stolen from you, but even if it is, it will never be you, and it will never be able to recreate what you have created. And it cannot, no person, no thing on this earth can recreate your experience of this world. It cannot replicate your experience of the earth, and that is something to be honored and respected, that experience, your experience, and to have someone devalue it and steal it and mutilate it and mash it together with a million other experiences is cruel and horrible. But as we maybe evolve into a society that finds it okay to do that, or that is going to do it no matter what, because it's kind of the world we live in, I don't even know if it's possible to really shut down things like that, systems or softwares that have extended so far into the world, that even if maybe art becomes something difficult to make a living on, or near impossible, that it will always matter, and the world will always be thankful to you for creating art and giving generations down the line the ability to look back and understand history in a way that means something. So maybe never burn the art you create, and never throw it away, and never stop doing it just because you feel like it's useless or not going to be paid anymore, and stuff like that. It's always going to matter. It's always going to mean something. Your art will always have an impact if it's made by you, if it's come from something you've felt, and your experience, whether or not you understood what it was, will always have an impact if that's the case. Yeah. Okay. I guess I'm really, not talking about anything coherent anymore. Okay, so the last thing I'll say is that, I have a website. If anyone's watching this, and is interested in submitting something, I have a submissions page where you can submit, anything, anything you want to talk about, anything you want to share. You can submit videos, pictures, photography, art in some capacity, however you find a way to submit it, and writing, and literally any form of medium that you want to use or have something to say, and that's how you can say it. I would be so honored to experience it and to see it and to have the opportunity to feel something that you have felt and to be impacted by it. And yeah, if you want to, I would be so thankful. And I also put things on there. I write some academic papers, and then I write some personal ones. So if you're interested in those at all, yeah. Okay. I don't know how much this made sense, and I've talked too much, but thank you for listening, if you did, and I hope some of this made sense. And I will talk to you in the next video I make. Okay. Bye.